turned therapist. Our focus in these episodes is to humanize the athlete experience beyond the lines of their arena. In this podcast, we will explore the whole athlete, highlighting the mental, emotional, and social aspects of their journey.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Millennium Athlete Wellness, the Life After Sport series. It's Lily and Amelia, and today we are going to talk a little bit about the intersection of academics and athletics. We're kind of going to bring a unique perspective to this from kind of two sides and break down stereotypes, maybe different challenges and triumphs of both worlds, and then fostering an understanding of the two perspectives and just kind of have a casual convo about it.
Yeah. Okay. So you played sports growing up, Lily. So kind of talk about like your life in school, I guess really in like the peak of like high school and college and how you balanced being an athlete and also an academic.
Yeah. So we have definitely talked about this a little bit on the pod before, but I played basketball from a super young age. High school, I was a varsity all 4 years and then recruited to play Division I at Georgetown. So for a while, my identity was super connected to basketball. And it was just like, Lily, the tall girl who plays basketball, not like Lily, the girl who wants to be a therapist or like any of that, which I kind of knew that after my AP Psych class.
Ooh.
Yeah. Junior year of high school. But yeah, it's just funny what people remember and what they don't remember and kind of how people identify you. And then I think whether we acknowledge it or we don't, that subconsciously kind of plays a role in then how you be yourself, which I think a lot of this kind of combo we'll talk about too.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you? What was your...
Yeah. So growing up, I danced. Like that was definitely where I found a lot of my identity. And then freshman and sophomore year, I was on the dance team at my high school, and that took up so much of my time. And then junior year, I quit. And that's when I got an internship at a hospital and was like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse one day. Like I really started diving into my what's next. And I think it's because I had the opportunity to kind of explore a life outside of the sport I was involved in. And then when I got to college, I just got super involved. I feel like in all those movies or TV shows, like the typical preppy, like involved in everything girl, that was definitely me. I was like a tour guide. I was in my sorority. I did like our New Maroon orientation camp. I did a lot of different things on campus. And so I had an identity outside of academics, but I would say like I was your typical quote unquote like traditional student. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't, like I feel like we kind of worshipped the athletes when they walked around campus. And so I was always looking up to them and thinking, oh my gosh. And this is where like those stereotypes come in. I'm like, they're so admired. They're so cool. And also they must have it so easy. Like, and I don't know if you ever felt that.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think what is super interesting is something like I'm painting a picture in my head as you were talking, and it's just like a college campus.
Yeah.
And there are students that are walking around maybe in their jeans with their hair done, like, and a cute backpack and from the outside, and we never really know what's going on, but look like they have it all put together, right? And they're running from class to class with like a coffee in hand and they're on time and whatever it is. And then you have, and this was definitely me and my clients, some of my clients talk about this now too, but then you have the person walking across campus in their like tracksuit, in their like branded, mine was like the Hoya leggings, or you have a specific backpack. And like you just knew who was an athlete versus who was a NARP. And we can talk about that term too and like what that feels like. But like it was very like, okay, who's wearing the backpack? Like who's not wearing the backpack? Or they're all walking in a herd and they like walk together.
We were in Adidas school, and like when I saw their cool Adidas gear, I was so jealous. Like,
this is where I plug that we were Jordan, not Nike, Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
No, but I feel like stereotypical, it's like the backpack versus the not backpack, or if that's kind of how like it was talked about at Georgetown. But I think there's a little bit of like a pressure to maybe stay in your lane, or maybe from my experience, I was like, oh, people look at me in this way. Maybe that means I like don't have time to go join the women in business group or whatever it is. Or so I definitely think in college, less so in high school, because I think, I don't know, freshman year of college, just, I don't know. When I view high school when I felt a little bit more confident towards like junior, senior year of high school, just because you start to know the people and it's like not obviously it's very scary. High school is scary, but
Yes.
like you're a little bit more comfortable in the community and you like know your professors and you know your teachers. But college for me was like a huge, big pool of newness. And I was just like, where do I fit in? And it was really easy for me to just like stay in that lane of like basketball and only basketball.
Yeah, I also think it's like that herd mentality. Like you're going to act and think and do as your group does. Like it makes me think of the High School Musical, like when they're at the lunchroom scene and it's like the status quo.
Status quo.
Yes. But like that's how I feel like college felt more so than high school. And I think
agree.
it's because you try to find the people who are, whether in your major and interested in doing the same career as you or in the same sport as you or in the same sorority or club or whatever. Like that herd mentality then becomes, okay, well, I need to find my identity in this group. And so what they think and how they act, that's how I need to kind of present myself. And I think that's how the separation between like athletes and NARPs and like, which do you want to explain that term?
Well, yeah. Okay. So NARP is a non-athletic regular person. And when I say that, I'm like, that kind of makes me cringe a little bit.
Yeah.
But a little bit more of a backstory. And this is like kind of an overshare, but funny. I played basketball at Georgetown for like a year and a half. And then I had a few injuries and just kind of decided that I wanted to be a NARP.
Yeah.
I was like kind of done with the sport. It was just like a lot. And I've definitely talked about that too. But my friends, my NARP friends had a NARP initiation party for me.
That is so funny.
Like a group of my friends who had like an off-campus house, they got like one of those glittery banners where you can write out and it was like NARP initiation.
Yes.
And we like did a scavenger hunt like around the city. So it was a fun day because for me, it was like, I'm losing that, like, in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, like, and then that talk about the, like, all or nothing. I was like, I'm never going to be able to play basketball again.
Yeah.
Like, I just became a NARP. Like, should I even, like, what do I do with that backpack? Or, like, can I wear my Jordan shoes to just, like, the normal gym? Or, like, you know, like, I was like, whoa. Like, it was so, like, and I think a lot of.
Like, loss of identity.
But I think a lot of, again, the like staying in one lane, that when I did say bye to basketball, and then I was like, okay, well, now I need to be a NARP. Like, what do I do to be a NARP? I need to be involved in this, and this. So I think it just, didn't really think about this when prepping for the episode, but I think that very much like explains also the, I don't know, some of the worry when you over-identify with one thing. Because for me, it was just like, okay, that's over with. Now I need to go all the way to the other end of the spectrum. And that created, honestly, a lot of anxiety and just kind of confusion, I feel like. Yeah.
How did you like then... For me, I feel like, you know, granted, it was so different because it was high school, but like as soon as I was done with dance team, I was like, okay, internship, thinking about my college application. Like I was thinking about like touring different campuses. Like academics became my world. And I think I really put a lot of pressure in that because I was like, okay, this is another place where I can achieve. Like I'm getting scores back. I'm getting grades back. Like I can kind of keep that mentality. After you lost basketball, and the NARP phrase, like you became a NARP, like did academics become your line of vision? Like, how did you shift in that?
It was really weird. I think having a sport actually helped me in the academic world with time management.
Yeah.
Because for so long, I had sport and I had practices and I had all these things that I needed to do. So I needed to be very organized.
You had like time allocated towards studying
I was like,
and papers.
Okay, I know I have practice this day, but I know I have an exam this day.
Yeah.
I need to use my free period wisely in the middle of the day at school. I'm not going to go to the lunchroom. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go to a cubicle and get my stuff done. So when you remove that basketball piece out of my schedule, there's a lot of free time.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, I have more time. Like my grades should probably reflect that. They didn't at the beginning. They definitely did not at the beginning. So it was kind of like also COVID then happened. So that was a wild thing as well. But it was kind of like, okay, I have more time. What do I want this to look like? In my mind, I was like, my academics should show. They didn't at the beginning, which was definitely a little bit scary. But then it was just kind of like, I don't know. And then I think that's kind of when I think I was able to hang out with my friends more, which was great. Like, yes, that's not directly related to academics, but I was like going to the library and doing things with friends, whereas like I never really did that before.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I did not walk into Georgetown's library. My dad does not like this story. I did not walk into Lounger Library until I stopped playing basketball.
Oh my gosh. That's
like
crazy.
I did not step into the library. And to be honest with you, because COVID happened, that was not until my senior year.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
Like, I found my places on campus. Like there's a Starbucks on campus. That was like kind of my go-to if I had to buckle down. I would go to this one corner booth in Starbucks. But people would literally be like, I remember the Snapchats clear as day. Like, Lily Weeman at the library? Like, no way.
Yeah.
But, like, funny, and we're laughing. But then I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow. Like, a lot of people spend so much time here, and I've never been here before. I was like, does that make me less than? Like, and then sometimes we transfer over to classes. I would be afraid to, like, raise my hand or talk or share my opinion. And I think, honestly, it just took like me growing in myself and becoming a little bit more confident in myself. Because I think for so long I was like, okay, basketball helped me get here. I essentially came here for basketball. Now I don't have basketball. Can I raise my hand? Like, should I be like, or maybe it's like, oh, Lily used to play basketball, but she didn't play basketball. Then I was like, okay, maybe I need to prove myself even more in the classroom.
And from the other side, like, I would never assume any of that is going on in an athlete's brain. Like, I will never forget walking into architecture appreciation my sophomore year of college, which, yes, like, there are those classes that you just take as like an elective. You get them out of the way. I also took something called Plants and Humans.
Okay, I totally did a plants class in college. In high school, it was geology, but we called it Rocks for Jocks.
That is, no, but like, there are those classes, senior year of high school, forensics.
Yep.
When I walked in and saw half the football team, I was like, oh, easy A. And I kind of associated like those classes, like walking into architecture appreciation, there were so many baseball players. And I was like, okay, yay, this is going to be such an easy class. And that's also like degrading to them. Like, they might actually really have an aspiration or have academic goals, and like, the MLB might not be their calling, or there's like, they enjoy athletics, or they enjoy that piece of them and that identity they hold, but like, they might be really invested in sport, and they might be having these, or academics, and having these like mind games of like, do I need to prove myself? Like, do I raise my hand? Is this my environment? What is my environment? Is it just on the field or on the court? Or can I be in these academic settings and really strive to be the best version of myself?
Yeah.
And other people are just assuming, all right, I see the Adidas backpacks, we're good to go.
Well, but then I also want to kind of take a step back and look at the other side. Like, when I wasn't going to the like special, you're on a team here gym, and I was going to the NARP gym, which was a big shift for me because I had never been going to the NARP gym.
Yeah.
But when I started going there, I'm just like almost like, look at those nerds trying to play basketball, which like is so rude. And but you know, like, we kind of have, again, I think it's like easier to not sit in this middle ground of like the both and it's way easier to just go to one extreme or the other. I do this in my personal life. I talk about this all the time. But like, so that I was like, wait, no, like, also like, good for them for coming to the gym. Like, they feel comfortable here. I was the one that didn't feel comfortable there because it was a different environment for me. And then I was like, okay, wait, so like, how do we use these racks? Like, should I work? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just so funny because I think you become a product of your environment too.
I think it's definitely like an us versus them mentality. Over identifying with one group can like fuel the stereotypes and create like an unnecessary power dynamic.
Sort of,
yeah. And I think that that's where we have like the social silos, like prevent collaboration and friendship and mutual understanding. And we think that these people are so different than us. And that's applicable in every aspect of life, not just like athlete versus non-athlete. Can I, like, even being in the athlete wellness division and working with you guys and not having been an athlete, I think about that all the time. I'm like, I probably shouldn't speak in this staff meeting because like, I really don't have anything huge to contribute. But then I'm like, no, you definitely do though. And I love hearing the other perspective too. Yeah. But I
mean, honestly, this podcast idea probably wouldn't have come up if me and you didn't have like an offhand conversation the other day.
Yes. Yeah. About architecture appreciation.
Yeah. But no, I totally agree. And I'm glad, we're glad to have you and we love you. And I think it's awesome. But yeah, no, I agree. I also think it's sort of this idea of, I think a lot of like, we're talking a lot about like in school right now, but I think it also follows us to like when we graduate as well. And like have this, we're talking about life after sport to kind of like turn it a little bit to that. But there's this idea of, whoa, like, I didn't do anything else other than my sport when I was in college. Yeah. That can be a little bit terrifying for when that ends.
Stepping into the real world, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, to be honest, I think I was very afraid, and grad school was kind of just, I was like, I don't really need to figure out exactly a job. Yeah. I'm just going to go into this again, like cycle of like kind of measurement. I'm like, am I good enough to get into this school? There was competition. I like loved hearing back like what grad schools I got into and what grad schools I didn't get into, because it was, again, more of that like athlete mindset. Like I'm either good enough or I'm not. And like I'm going to be judged on what I just submitted.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how you feel at practice. Like whether or not you're going to earn minutes in the game is how you're showing at practice. So for me, I think I just fell back into that comfortability of like, oh, like grad school. I wanted to do this. Yeah. Some people take some time off in between graduating and then going to grad school to be like pursue a counseling degree. But I was like, no, I'm just going to keep going and put my head down and like do what I know. And in that moment, which funny enough, was school.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, like being academically driven in like undergrad and in college allowed me to be like, I knew the next steps I was going to take. And I had such a level of comfortability with that because I was like, oh, this is just the next part of my academic career. Like I viewed it as that. This was more of like, this is the next step of my life. Do you find a lot of like your clients and your athletes, especially those who are about to graduate, like they're at this pinnacle of like curiosity and fear and not really knowing what's next?
Totally. And I feel like this is where I'm really able to relate to them. And I think there's like really a lot of my self-disclosure probably comes in this moment because I'm like, whoa, like I was just here a few years ago. Like I can really just like, it's almost like they don't even need to say it. And I just like see it in their eyes and like feel it through the screen if it's on Zoom. I'm just like, oh, they are just like genuinely worried, confused, and also feeling a little bit alone.
Yeah.
But no, I think, and it's also funny, like, yes, I stopped playing sports. Am I still connected to sports?
Yeah.
100%. In my job, yes, athlete wellness, I'm talking about this 100%. But I think a lot of athletes do that. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I don't think that I'm the only one. But that judgment and that like academics looking down on us still has kind of followed because I didn't choose to go into banking. I didn't choose to go into whatever it may be. My options, honestly, were journalism, and it was going to be broadcast sports journalism, or I wanted to be a therapist that specializes in working with athletes.
Yeah.
Those are both very strongly connected to my identity of being an athlete.
Yeah.
And there was honestly no other option.
Yeah.
Was that because I maybe didn't spread my wings when I was growing up as much as I should have, maybe not should have, but as much as I could have to show me more like possibilities? Maybe. But when I'm seeing this in a lot of my athletes too, and they're like, well, like, I think I want to go into physical therapy. Like, that makes sense, right? Like, I'm an athlete, like, kind of like giggling, but like, oh, that's sort of what I have to do. Or I think I want to be a coach. Or I think I want to be something similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. Like, their wants are still sort of driven by
and connected to
their sport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to take that one step further, when I like share what I do, I'm like, yeah, I'm a therapist that specializes in working with athletes. They're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Like, you're probably great at that.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, yep, like, here's Lily again.
Yes, still in this identity.
Which I honestly didn't really know I felt that way until talking about it right now. But it makes sense.
And like, what I'm thinking about too is like, look at Tom Brady. Like, he played for the longest period of time, was the GOAT. And then he was like, I'm going to go back and announce football games. Like,
I mean, that's like a very common trope.
Exactly.
100%.
Jason Kelce. We see these people still fall into what's comfortable for them. And I think validating and reminding people that makes sense. Like the train of thought that got you from A to B, I completely, understanding that and like expressing that with clients and saying like, it's okay that that feels comfortable. Like doing what feels comfortable is going to be what's best for you right now. And sometimes when you get to the place of stepping out of that comfort zone, like you're going to have the tools and like wants and desires that you've been given through these things that you've been taught through sport.
I completely agree. It's like that, again, we've talked about it, or maybe we're going to talk about it in another series, but like the transferable skills.
Yes.
Like, and honestly, that's sort of been a shift that my therapist has helped me. She was like, and honestly, what I've talked about with a lot of people in the athlete wellness division as well, it's like we joke around and we're like, when we're in a team meeting behind our computers, no basketball, no sport involved at all. Like we're not playing, we're literally in our everyday clothes. Like, but it's like, oh, there goes our athlete mindset. Like that makes sense. Like we want to get this done. Or maybe we'll notice some competitive energy and I'm like, okay, like I'll do it. And they're like, no, I'll do, you know what I mean? Like, we have that. But I think I used to look down on that, and I'm like, oh, like, this is the only way I know how to operate. And instead, my reframe in working here and in talking to people, and then also talking to my own therapist, is like, wow, like, I have this skill that I can now reimagine and that I can put into this new phase or this new aspect of my life. I think, and now I'm like, not to toot my own horn, but I think a lot of things that I've learned in being an athlete for so long, and not to say that people who aren't athletes don't have these.
Good old
I
narps.
do not, yeah, narps, I know. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, again, how we grew up thinking about them was like, this is something that I learned in sport. But you can easily, like, I think my time management really comes to light when thinking about this, or just like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge thing, and maybe some leadership skills as well. But like, that's not to say that then someone who did not play sports in high school or college or ever does not have those. It's just the way that we look at them is a little bit different.
Yes. I think it comes down to being able to normalize and understand dual identities. Like, you can be an athlete and you can be an academic. You can be a therapist and also have these transferable skills from being a basketball player. Like, they are interconnected and intertwined, and also can be separated to make sense in your brain however you need them to be. And it's also about breaking the stereotypes. And like, even the conversations that we've had or that we've had in staff meeting, like joking about, oh, well, like, we did this and you did that, like the breaking of it, and then being able to just understand and humanize the human experience of that person, not necessarily what they've done or how it's been tied to them, can help you then redefine success and like understand that success isn't necessarily about excelling in one specific area. Like, just because you were an amazing athlete does not mean you cannot be an amazing doctor, lawyer, banker, accountant, whatever. Yeah. I think it's just about pursuing a balanced and fulfilling life and embracing all aspects of your identity that kind of make you who you are, instead of having to separate them and live in different pieces of yourself.
Totally. For people listening that are maybe in the like high school, college world right now, people who identify as athletes and people who identify as more of the academic, I think it's not, okay, go join math club if you're an athlete.
Yeah.
And then the opposite, like, go join club basketball or a club sport if it's more so, it doesn't need to be the complete other side, but it's just like, ask yourself, what else are you curious about? Like, what else do you care about? Like, what else can you see yourself doing and grabbing joy from? There's so many opportunities on high school and college campuses. And honestly, in post-grad as well, they might be a little harder to find because there's no like career fair or whatever it is, or club fair. But there is other options, and there are other places for you to be like, oh, I kind of want to tap into this side. Or maybe you've for a long time been like, and honestly, I will hold myself accountable, I want to go to a pottery class.
Oh my God, let's go.
Yeah, we should go. But like, I've been like, and like, I have wanted to for such a long time. I did a clay class in like third grade, and I just haven't done it since, but I like want to do that. And it's just like, who's stopping you? If you have like a need or want or an itch that you need to scratch, like, go for it.
Yeah.
And I know time can be a huge constraint with that, maybe time, money, whatever, but like, there are ways to still incorporate that fit your kind of just like fit your environment.
Yeah. And even if it's not necessarily something you're interested in, but something that like you're invited to or that might seem fun, like going to the Swish House basketball class, so out of my comfort zone. And I realized how short I am compared to all of my coworkers. But like, I had so much fun, and I played church league basketball. Like, it's not something that I was good at or had fun with, but that class was so much fun, and it's not something I would have done unless you guys were like, you should come. So I think like being open to experiences that don't necessarily like initially scream at you
or like align with what you thought you were about on paper.
Yeah. I think there's so much to learn when you communicate with people that, again, have different identities and stop having that us versus them mentality. And something as simple as talking about athlete versus non-athlete can really bring to light like the way that we view other people and how they operate and act and do and think.
I think one thing that I want to highlight before we like kind of wrap up a little bit is also like, we just talked about a lot of things that were our experience.
Yeah.
But I think obviously everyone's experience looks a little different, but there are definitely like more macro systematic institutional barriers that like make it really easy to want to put yourself into one category.
Yes.
Like it's a little bit easier, or you like, I don't know, again, like checking a box and being like, this is exactly who I am, even when it just comes to like nationality or race or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like things that you're about to or things that you're interested in. So I also want to note that sometimes there's just a lot of other forces that are at play that can seem a little, I don't know, jarring or daunting. I don't know, daunting. Yeah.
This has been such a fun conversation.
I know.
Thank you guys for keeping up with the Life After Sports series, and we'll catch you again soon.
Yeah. See you later.